reorganize first. That's all we.
So congratulations.
What are we doing?
Let it rip.
There we go.
We ready, Paul? I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Town of Middleton Planning Board, Wednesday, June 12th, 7 PM at the Fuller Meadows School. Anybody in the room with a cell phone, please mute it. We will start this meeting with our annual vote to reorganize the board. As I will be stepping down, I'd like to make the first recommendation. I recommend Anthony to be the next chairman. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I will accept the nomination, thanks.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
I'd like to make a nomination of Jason to be our vice chair.
I'll second.
Jason, you know about this?
Sure.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so move. Are there any other positions we need to worry about?
Clerk?
Yep, indeed.
You want me to be the clerk?
Someone's gonna be the clerk.
All right, I nominate Lisa to be the clerk.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 I accept.
Okay, and then with that, Anthony, please take over.
Oh, this is effective immediately?
Immediately.
That was quick.
You're up,
We
Brian.
don't normally do things that quickly.
Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes from our previous meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
I will entertain a motion to accept the minutes as written.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I second that.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We also have to designate a board member to the Master Plan Committee. Does anyone, who is currently, you are the Master
I
Plan
am the currently
Committee.
Master Plan Committee rep.
Does anyone wish to volunteer to join the Master Plan Committee? Would you want to give us a little overview on
Yeah.
when you meet, how often you meet?
Let me do that. Number one, it is not nearly as often as most other boards. It's usually once every fiscal quarter. We did that because not too long ago, we just finished the master plan, and really, it's a question of checking up on departments, committees, boards, et cetera, as to what kind of progress they're making with said master plan. I had basically started to divide up these areas amongst some of the members, saying, okay, you two go tackle this list, and so on and so forth. Now, I had originally pushed off our last meeting because of the vote on the MBTA Communities Act. That would have radically changed what would have been in the master plan. Now, because come January, people may think differently about how they voted, that may change again.
Yeah.
Therefore, really, in the immediate, what you're doing is making sure that what the master plan committee is doing is following up with what was accepted and voted on by the town as the master plan. Beyond that, we have basically structured it so that every 10-year creation of a new master plan at ungodly expense will no longer have to happen. It will be more living and breathing, not unlike the United States Constitution, where if we wish to amend it because of the MBTA or whatever else comes into play, that can happen, and that, say, every 2 years in a town meeting, the town can vote to amend the existing master plan. And that way, we're not spending thousands and thousands of town dollars to rewrite something similar that we had before. Like I said, it's only once every 3 months. A lot of it can be by video unless there's guest speakers or whatever other committee members that feel it necessary for it to be public. I mean, in person. So, with that being said,
Does anyone wish to volunteer?
I'll volunteer.
Thank you, Lisa.
all right.
I will make a motion for Lisa to be our planning board rep for the Master Plan Committee.
And
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, then.
Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.
All right. Do we have anyone here from Middleton Living LLC for Rowell Lane? This is to discuss the release of a bond.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Planning Board members. I'm Deandra DiBiase with Middleton Living LLC, and we're here in front of you tonight to ask for the final reduction of the Rowell Lane bond. You should have received sign-off from Paul Goodwin. That's all we really have. It's complete. It's been wonderful working here.
Thank you. Just to read it into the record, we do have a memo from Paul Goodwin, our superintendent. This is dated June 6th. It's my understanding that Middleton Living LLC is seeking a bond reduction from the current amount of $56,145 to zero. After visiting the site many times and speaking with various department heads recently, I feel this request should be granted. Any questions or comments, please contact me. Thank you, Paul Goodwin.
Mr. Planner, do you have any current knowledge of anything that's outstanding beyond what Paul has put out there?
Well, Mr. Chair, through you to the board and Mr. Carroll, if you look in the subdivision regs, there's a number of items, documents that are normally submitted with this. And I just started a week and a half ago. This all preceded me. But it looks like there's 5 or 6 documents that are required along with the request for the final reduction. And the building inspector was taking care of that. And through the email chain, it looks like he was handling all those required items. So I assume they're done. I don't have a record of it, but they were working with the building inspector, and the final act is always the recommendation of the DPW director or town engineer that everything's been done properly, and that's what we have in the memo that was submitted for this evening.
Perfect.
I would recommend release of the final bond.
Thank you.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been, we would never would have got a letter from Paul if it wasn't all taken care of.
Yeah.
by the-
Sometimes things slip through. You never know.
Yeah,
The main documents are typically the as-built, which was a requirement to be submitted prior to the last certificate of occupancy of the townhomes. So what we just, which happened last June, what we just wrapped up were the 3 single-family homes at the front of the subdivision, which just have an easement over Rowell Lane. We already got stormwater management, again, signed off for that last certificate of occupancy. So those are the 2 major components of the subdivision, and it is a private way.
Very good. Does
Mr.
anyone
Chairman.
like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to release the remaining bond for Middleton Living LLC for Rowell Lane.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So there is a document that'll need to be signed. My notary was out sick today, so unfortunately she couldn't come, but I have it here. Not sure if anyone here is a notary, and if not, she's willing to come tomorrow at some point and meet with you, or come to your office, or wherever you are, in order to get it executed.
Okay. I will leave you with my cell phone number, and we can coordinate that. I should be here probably around lunchtime.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. Let me just.
Oh, that brings up something else, Mr. Chairman. We need to have that document amended that the board had signed, especially during COVID, et cetera, that
Allows the
that allows the
chairperson to
chairperson, but that
sign on
chairperson
behalf
was
of the
named
board.
as me, now it has to be you, so.
Okay.
I have that document right here, I believe.
Beautiful.
Oh,
Good.
So
awesome.
it's on the agenda.
Okay,
We can take care of that later if you like.
okay.
Excellent.
Pleasure of the board.
Oh, you don't want to say it?
Yeah, I'll just. I don't
Now
need to
we're
get called.
recording again. I don't give out my phone number either.
You're actually
Not to
setting
the
them
whole
up, aren't you?
town.
Yeah, our homeowners. Can I have your phone number?
Perfect.
Thank you so much. I'll be in touch tomorrow.
Very good.
Have a
Thank you.
great day.
Have a good night.
wonderful night.
You too.
Thanks, you too. All right, moving on to 2 ZBA recommendations. The first one we have is for 22 Riverview Drive, special permit to reconstruct a non-conforming building. Doesn't seem like we have the petitioner here.
I didn't really see any attachments as far as what they were looking to do.
Yeah.
It's an
And- and-
I didn't see
existing.
anything. I just saw special permit.
Yeah, it's a recommendation of the ZBA. There's a non-conforming building on a non-conforming lot. It looks like they're looking to raise that and build a new, it doesn't specify single-family, but I'm assuming it is.
Yeah, it's very,
It's RMB district.
it's replacing an existing dwelling.
In compliance with R1B.
In compliance with the
still should be
R1B, all
something-
setbacks. Utilities are existing. I think the biggest issue they're gonna have is probably with the Conservation Committee, given that it backs up to wetlands. Do you have,
Chair, if I can give you an update.
That'd be great.
To the board. We had a design review group meeting yesterday.
Okay.
It consists of all the department heads. And we reviewed this project, and there was uniform agreement that there should be a positive recommendation of the planning board
okay,
to support it to the ZBA application. They mentioned that the existing structure's not a great single-family dwelling, and it would be a good thing to have it demolished and replaced with a newer structure that met the setbacks and dimensional controls.
A lot
So that
of,
was their recommendation, and the Conservation Commission did issue an order of conditions, so they have approved it.
oh, very good.
a lot of these properties down there, if you take a ride down there, they're all old camps.
Yeah.
They're all non-conforming lots, they're all small dwellings, so if anybody's, my recommendation, if someone's trying to improve it, I think it would be
I'm
something.
trying to think of a tactful way to say that, but
Yeah,
it's,
and we didn't receive any
Positively
kind of
received.
correspondence, negative or positive, from any abutters. It looks like one of the abutters is actually
actually
the
related, right?
petitioner's mother,
Yes.
so
Yep.
I think I would support it as well. So I'll entertain a motion if anyone would like to make a recommendation to the ZBA.
I recommend that we support the special permit for reconstruction of a non-conforming structure at 22 Riverview Drive.
Do we have a second to that positive recommendation to the
Yep,
ZBA?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. The second one is for, let's see,
177.
177 North Main Street, special permit for 2 automotive lifts going into the existing building. Let's see, what those documents. Chris, do you have any insight onto that one?
sure, thank you, Mr. Chair, through you to the board. Again, we discussed this yesterday with the design review group, and they unanimously, I guess, agreed to support a positive recommendation to the planning board, to forward that to the ZBA for their application. This is an existing business. He's just doing what he's always done. It'll be repair of vehicles in an internal structure, so there's no real change of use or expansion of use. Everything will be interior. The only thing that the building inspector brought up was the hours of operation. And he submitted hours of operation in the application. I think it closes at 5:30, and that's well before typical type of business would close in this sort of operation. So, positive recommendation from the DRG is what I'd forward to the board.
Very good. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. I move to accept the general application for 177 North Main Street
You make a positive
and a
recommendation.
positive recommendation.
Do we have a second?
Yep, I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Passes unanimously as well. Chris mentioned he's got the paperwork for the Southern Essex Registry of Deed annual signatures. We all have to sign it, and I believe it may have been a separate document that permits the chairperson to be able to sign on behalf, sign documents like we just discussed for the release of covenants and bonds on behalf of the board. I'll take a look into that, but I think it was a separate document from this one, unless there's like a checkbox that says.
Correct, Mr. Chair. I think that had to await the reorganization, obviously, so
Yep,
it'll
perfect.
be forthcoming
Okay,
in the next meeting.
okay, very good. Everyone got a pen, ready to sign?
You know, I'm noticing it's,
I gotta put my name on there.
you'll have to write in your name. I hope that's okay. And for A&Rs, it still says Brian Carroll, so somebody didn't update that. But I think you can just cross that out, Anthony,
Okay.
and write in your name.
Perfect. You want to go ahead and write your name in and?
Should everybody have a pen?
Do you want to borrow this one, Anthony?
I'll borrow that one, yeah.
And I'm from the school of Murphy was an optimist, so I always ask that 2 copies be. I'm a coffee drinker too, and more than once I've spilled a little on an important document, so just to be.
I think that's right. It's 5 years, right?
Yes. Yep.
Thank you, board.
For A&Rs. And 2026. Thank you. Sorry, I stole your pen.
That's okay. I'll wait.
Thanks.
Oh, there you go. That's a good one. No, you got one? Thank you.
I've already been there, thank you.
You don't need it.
I thought I got away with it.
No.
All right, while those are going around,
Me
Chris,
too.
you want to give us an update,
You don't want to hear
town planner report, and introduce yourself, I think.
He's not on there either.
I've already been wiped out.
I don't know if you've met
Thank you,
many of
Mr.
these guys,
Chair,
but
through the board. It's great to be here, and I'm really excited to be working with all of you and for you. And I sent an email, I hope you got it, with my cell number. Anytime you need to contact me for whatever reason, please do, and that includes on the weekends, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So we're a team, and, you know, I believe in this concept you hear often lip service, but, you know, the living, breathing role of the planning board and its master plan and the sort of regulations that it controls. That's how I've always approached my role in my business, and so I've also done many reorgs. I was trying to calculate, coming to this meeting, how many planning board meetings I've been to, and it's probably about 400 in my total career. So you're about the 20th planning board I've had, but I'm really excited to be here and be working with you and for you. So with that, I'd like to say, anytime there's a reorg, I'd like to mention this. Thank you to Mr. Carroll, even though I wasn't here, for his excellent service as the chair and all the other members in their roles in the prior board, and I look forward to working with Anthony. Anthony asked really good questions at the interview, so you were well served by that process. And other than that, I'd like to, in the town staff report, talk about things that are coming up. You know, obviously any suggestions or ideas you have about what you'd like me to include, I'll include the important stuff. First thing I'd like to let the board know about, for practical reasons, your schedules, since you're volunteers, and whether you can make meetings and quorums and so forth, is the permitting pipeline. So we have one application in that will be on the next agenda, and I have copies, hard copies of that, and it's for a modification to a project you approved in 2023, 3-unit, 2-family project. And so that'll be coming before you at the next meeting. And beyond that, we don't have anything right now for the agenda. So if you have any ideas, and I always like to start every role like this with talking about a work plan for the next year or so, about what's important to you. You're all, you know, I'm working for an elected board again.
Yep.
Which I think is great. It's been a while. So you have important priorities that are coming from your constituents who voted you in, and I'd like to know what those are, and so please let me know, and I'll put it in a draft work form, and then it's a pleasure to the board how you want to proceed with any of the items. But the master plan, and the implementation of that, master plan is your document, you own it, you are the authority, you approve it under the statute. I'm sure the town approved it, probably at town meeting, but, so I have ideas about implementation. I've worked with a lot of implementation committees and master plan committees, and all manner of checking up to see if the high priority action items are being worked on and how. So I'll be coming forward, I think, at the next meeting probably, with a tentative draft work plan for you to review and add to and edit, and however you like. That's what I'll be trying to work off of in order to meet your priorities. So that's all I have for this meeting.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, I appreciate you joining us. Want to reiterate, Brian, thank you again for, your service to this board and other committees as a, representative of this board. Been a tremendous asset to the town. So I appreciate everything that you've done and quarterbacked here as the chair. So
Thank you. I actually do have some parting words for Chris. As was demonstrated in this last, I'll call it a fiasco, the MBTA Communities Act, I think we've all learned the hard way that communication, outgoing communication to the public with accurate information is probably the top challenge you're going to have. There were so many people that still thought that it was more than zoning, that it was actually building. And, yeah, there was a bunch, there was, the don't tread on me people or whatever, didn't want the man telling them what to do. But a lot of it was misinformation. So while your predecessor tried to do a lot of that, I think one of the things that your office is going to have to step up a little bit is making sure that the community is better informed. And I don't know how, because some people don't look at the website. Some people, everybody does their own way of gathering information here. But there has to be a better, more holistic way of getting the proper information out to the public at large. I think that it's not just the MBTA part, but there was another thing that we had a couple of years ago that was voted down because it was not understood properly. So those are my parting words to you.
Okay, appreciate that.
in combination with our consultant too, I mean, we did a bunch of different workshops that, we might have got 20 people, 25 people. A majority were board members, select board members, not much, not much public engagement, as much as we tried to push people to come and learn about it, have their input into, how we were going to try and attack the 3A zoning. Again, I think a lot of it was this is kind of overreach by the state, and they came heavy-handed on Milton, and we don't want to be dictated to by the state. We want to control our own zoning, and so I think a lot of it was that, and less about the actual plan that we put forth, where I think the production was not going to equal the zoning that we had created, and without a catastrophic event that may have taken down Ferncroft Towers or something like that. But yeah, I think it was unfortunate, but that was the result of the meeting, I guess.
Yeah, and I will, if I can add my 2 cents. As someone that's been around for a while, watching this sort of develop, and it's been developing for 10 years in the legislature, it just sort of dropped like an anvil on everybody. Nobody thought in the legislature that it was going to pass. And then suddenly there were a few new members, and the tide turned, and the scales tipped, and we got through, to the surprise of a lot of people. But the state is vested in it, and the state is vested in the production of housing. There's no doubt about that. And so I have a few ideas about what we can do in the interim. I think you did a great job, and it was a great effort in terms of, it was the best you could have done, I think, with the circumstances. And from the day this became law, it's been this sort of evolving thing that the state didn't really have a good handle on, quite frankly. So they didn't do a real good job at messaging. And so it's a moving target, right?
Yeah.
And that's never good for legislation or statute. So I have a few ideas and thinking a lot about this, and there's no doubt that the state's not going to back away from this, but I think there's a few things we can do to buffer or protect the town further, regardless of what the state does, and that's what I'll be bringing with the message that I certainly will be intensifying. So I hear your suggestion and appreciate it.
And outside of 3A, you know, I know there was an affordability component to it where you couldn't have more than 10%. We're well below our 10% safe harbor mark. And as a prior member of the Affordable Housing Trust here in town, we're looking at both the big A, we call it the big A and the small A affordable, right? So we want, it's going to be difficult, I think, to get the message across and to create the zoning for things that we think would be important and help the town, like accessory dwelling units by right. Maybe not two-family by right. I've heard a lot of negative, you know, connotations about that. But the ability for someone, you know, who's lived in this town their entire life, who wants to age in place, and maybe just can't afford their home anymore, to be able to create an in-law apartment and to put restrictions on that so that it's not, you know, a developer's dream where they're going to build, you know, a bunch of accessory dwelling units or think that it's going to be, you know, advantageous to them. It's really for the existing community members who are finding it more and more challenging to, you know, deal with the high cost of ownership. So I would definitely like your input and suggestions on how we could potentially go to a special town meeting or an annual town meeting, you know, with accessory dwelling units and other affordability components to try and get closer not only to that 10% safe harbor mark, but also to make it, you know, more bearable and tolerable for people that want to live here, whether they're young professionals or old people that are just trying to deal with the inflation.
Yeah, I think the solution here is holistic, right? We know that.
Yeah.
And how did it happen that we're at this point where the state's just throwing mandates down? I don't blame people for being upset about that. That's not the right way to do planning.
The one thing that the state did wrong, the legislature did wrong, was that they didn't make it clear from the very beginning that under Massachusetts constitutional law, the state does have the right to implement zoning rules for towns. They don't typically do it. They let us do our own thing when we want to, but when they want to, they have the right to do it. It's in the Constitution. A couple of lawyers were in the room, in this very room, telling us, no, it's not unconstitutional. It's in the state constitution. So, again, properly informing people, which started badly at the legislative level, you know, that's what they say, oh, well, they're telling me what to do. It's like, well, if they have the right to do it, then you really can't complain about it.
I think what's difficult though here, it's like, it's not one size fits all, right? So, I mean, you have the town of Middleton, we're different, right? We have city water, town water, we have well water, we have septic systems, other.
Oh, yeah, the broad
towns,
brush,
cities.
the broad
It's
brush
just like-
wasn't gonna work anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But, anyway.
Yeah, it's statutory, and there's no doubt about that. That's what gives you your authority and your power, which is good for municipalities and local control. But it's an enabling act. It's called an enabling act, the zoning enabling act. It's not meant to be decrees and mandates and things like that are imposed on towns. So I have some ideas. I have a lot of experience dealing with these sort of things, so I look forward to sharing that with you and getting your preference on how we proceed. Because ultimately, I'm giving you best recommendations possible, and that's so you can make informed decisions. You're the authority.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, it's about, you know, we talked about this, I think, during the interview process too. It's about finding a happy medium. It's about, you know, being able to go to a developer, you know, who trusts us, we trust them, to be able to say, let's, you know, there's going to be a give and take, and how can we do what's in the best interest of the town while still making it worthwhile for them to develop and help us meet our goals.
Yeah, developers have a way of always coming out okay.
Yep.
So, you know, you appreciate their investment and interest in the community, as long as they're doing it according to what people of Middleton want and need.
Yep.
And there's no reason that can't happen, so I'll be working with you toward that end.
Very good. Next up on the agenda, any reports from committees? The one thing I believe we will need, and I don't think it's on the agenda, but not reasonably anticipated, is we will probably need someone who wishes to be part of the Affordable Housing Trust, a representative for, oh no, that's you.
That's me.
So that's the CPC we'll need to nominate.
Yeah, you guys have to do it and see.
I was on there as part of the Community Preservation Committee,
Right.
which I did not,
Yeah, we had a meeting last week, but I had a medical thing, I didn't go to it, but we're actually, we're taking July off, and we'll get back in August.
sounds good. Any other items not reasonably anticipated?
Mr. Chair, I have one decision for you to sign that's a holdover from the last meeting.
Okay.
It's a minor modification that you approved.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll get that filed tomorrow with town clerk.
There will be something coming up in the next couple months that I'll, either next month or the month after, I'll have to recuse myself from. It actually has to do with my property, so I'll have to recuse myself from the proceedings.
Okay. Thanks for the heads up on that.
We should make sure that
Zanetti.
Nick knows, so he has to show up.
Yeah, I will inform Nick.
Thank you.
I
So even though
didn't-
it says June 5th, I'm assuming, does he, because it's dated June 5th, should he sign it as the previous chair, or should I sign?
No, I think, because you're the current
Okay.
chair, could have done it differently, but that's fine, either way.
Okay.
It'll be filed with the town clerk tomorrow, so it's always good to have the present chair's signature on it. It's just that signature page. This is somebody, for the information of the board, who was taking 700 square feet of storage space and converting it to livable space. Quite an impressive structure. But they found some way to eke out even more livable space. so. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Lisa. All right, does anyone have anything else?
I'll be on vacation July 10th.
July 10th. Does anyone else know whether or not they will or will not be able to make the July 10th meeting?
I'll be here.
It should be available.
Mr. Chairman, just to remind you, I tried to make it a custom where the board gets at least 1 month off during the summer. Whether you choose to follow on that is up to you, of course.
It'd be nice to try and do that in August, because I know we already have one petitioner who's set up for July already on the July agenda.
Yeah, you could open that public hearing and still have time to deal with that in September, so it wouldn't place any time to act constraint on the board.
Okay.
You just continue it to September, we have plenty of time for that, I think.
Okay. So let's try to, unless something comes up that's urgent and time sensitive, let's hopefully try to plan for an August absentee meeting. We'll resume in September.
Hopefully, we'll still be basking in another Celtics banner.
I know, right? And we'll get home just in time here for the game. All right. Nothing else? All right, we're adjourned.